the Kennedy administration?
Well, we have two guys here who kind of epitomize the problem with the Democratic side of the foreign policy establishment. One, the first is kind of arch villain of this era, Dean Acheson, who I would say probably outranks Alan Dulles in terms of like being like Mr. Deep State. Except unlike Dulles, he's not just the technician of like, murder and subterfuge. He's actually like deciding the bigger goals of this. And he was the Democratic Advisory Council on Foreign Policy in the 1950s was dominated by Dean Acheson and his compatriot Paul Nitze. Dean Acheson was also the boss of the guy who created containment in the early days of the Cold War, George Kennan. And Paul Nitze is the guy who drafted NSC 68, which called for massive American rearmament in 1950. It created the military-industrial complex. And around the same time that this was happening, that you had NSC 68 and the push for war in Korea to revive the military-industrial complex or to create it, really, to solve the dollar gap problem in Europe and also in East Asia, and also to perhaps take the heat off of Taiwan, because without a Korean War, perhaps China is able to actually take the island of Taiwan. So this would have some serious consequences, right? So they draft this NSC 68, which is kept secret, but it's known that it's like something Truman wants to pursue and the administration wants to pursue, massive rearmament. And they also create this as the military-industrial complex itself, like corporate entities, people who are connected to politics and corporate America, create this thing called the Committee on the Present Danger, and they're there to promote the fear of communism and sort of paranoia about it, and promote massive military spending as a way to confront this supposedly existential threat of communism, which was mostly made up. It was mostly done for economic reasons and for imperial reasons. You can say that for the whole Cold War. I am of the mind that the whole Cold War was basically a top-down production. The Soviets didn't want it, but the U.S. empire needed it. And it has great parallels to today in the war in Ukraine. But this group, the Committee on the Present Danger,